All right, g'day. Today I'm in Springbrook on Medicine Man Mountain, as it's known to local Kumameri people of southeast Queensland. So in the Gold Coast hinterland, on the flanks of the Tweed volcano. So all through this area, most of the landscape is on the remnants of a sort of 23 to 22 million year old volcano. So there are a lot of basalt and rhyolite lava flows. Where we are right now, it's on a hillside of the Hobwe basalt. So we're about 850 metres above sea level. A lot of this area back in the day was covered in extensive subtropical through to cool temperate rainforest. Um, all the basaltic soils supported that rainforest, and then where the basalt sort of peters out, you go onto the rhyolite, you get sort of wet sclerophyll and montane heathland, and then you sort of get successions of those two vegetation types as you work through the different flows going back down into the Beechmont basalt in the Nerang Valley. So this particular area, like a lot of the Springbrook Plateau, was extensively logged back from about the late 1800s through to about the 1930s or so. Most of the timbers that were sought after up here were things like red cedar, hoop pine, tallow wood. There's a range of different big rainforest soft and hardwoods that were taken. Much of the area was clear felled, and other areas it was sort of a bit more, it's harder to work in the rugged terrain, so not all the trees were taken down. Most of those areas now have sort of re-established, and that's where the national park is. So this particular hill here, up until probably like the late 70s, it was a bare hillside. Once forestry sort of ceased, a lot of these areas were taken up as dairy farms, and this is the case here. So up until sort of the 80s or so, this was a bare hill with nothing on it. Since then, it's been allowed to sort of passively regenerate. So there's a lot of natural recruitment that has happened from the surrounding forest. And it's looking like it's back on its way to being subtropical temperate rainforest. So um, here I'm sitting on a fallen Blackwood, Acacia melanoxylon. It's one of the sort of pioneer species that first sort of takes off and forms bulk of the canopy in these sort of regrown areas. There's also a lot of Calistoma ceratifolia, the black wattle, and a range of other trees are starting to come back in, and tree ferns and lots of vines and creepers and things are starting to look like rainforests again, which is cool. Um, After tropical cyclone or ex-tropical cyclone Alfred came through a few months ago, now a lot of trees came down, and this is one of them. So we're on private property here, and I thought it was a good opportunity to test out a few axes. So the first axe I've brought up here is this one. This is the Outback from Farmers Forge. Mick Hendricks, his wife Marty, been going for a little while, been eyeing this axe off and others in their collection for a while. And I finally pulled the trigger and got one for myself for my birthday. So I'm going to use this for give it a bit of go with limbing and sort of clearing stuff as I go. So beautiful little axe, comes with a sheath. This one, the Outback, it's a 2 pound head and also about 900 grams and a 50 centimeter handle. I didn't have any of this length, so I thought I'd save it for the Outback. Beautiful leatherwork on the sheath. And it's got a nice head shape. I really like the big beard, so you can get up and choke it, and good for bushcraft and stuff. But the weight, with that 2 pound head, it's kind of just at the limit of what you can comfortably use one-handed. But fantastic as a little camp pack. So I've given it a bit of a go on some things already, and really enjoyed it. But brought it up here to try it out. So keen to sort of see how that goes and give some feedback to Mick. Such great craftsmanship. I love the spotted gum handle. Not sure what the wedge material is here. Nice dark coloured wedge. Really nicely put together. So great that there's a good quality Australian axe forge in operation at the moment. Anyway, so I'll give that one a go. The main axe that I wanted to try out was one I recently finished building. It's this one. So this is a Thor Arvika, or Arvika Thor, a 3.5 pound Tasmanian pattern. So the Arvika axe factory operated, I think, between the town of Arvika in Sweden between sort of 1909 and in the 1950s. It was bought up after that by Holtzbrook and continued today. But these Arvika axes, these particular ones, the Thor Arvika, were exported to Australia and were sort of a common axe back in the sort of 1920s and 1930s. But I'm looking out for a 3.5 pound one for a while. So I really like the profile of these heads, particularly on the bigger 4.5 pound ones. 3.5 still got the same sort of deep heel here. Gives them a really nice look and good weight, and supposedly very good steel. It was nice to sharpen, and it's got a great edge on it now. They kind of, they aren't the cleanest looking axe. There's fairly sort of rough forging process, so they usually sort of appear a little bit beat up, and most people don't notice the axe other than the profile, because the stamps are usually pretty faint. So the actual main stamp up here for the Acacia axe fabric, I didn't realize until recently. I saw somewhere a Swedish axe junkie sort of mentioned that the Acacia axe fabric, this is the combined A and Y that make up that logo. I thought it was some Swedish rune for Thor or something, but no, it's just an A and a Y for Acacia axe fabric. And it's got a little 3.5 down there. So I've hung this on a 750mm Holtzbrook or Holterfors hickory handle. I wanted to go with hickory for this one, but then to sort of pay homage to the European origins of this particular axe head, I've put a birch palm swell, or set of palm swells on it, and then because it's made its way to me in Ipswich, I thought I'd add in, this is a wedge of Plunket Mallee, Eucalyptus curtisi, which is the floral emblem of Ipswich. So we've got a bit of Ipswich meets Sweden going on with this particular little axe. Super keen to give it a go. This would have been a great axe if you were working long days in the forest. May well have been used to fell a lot of the trees around here during the 20s and 30s. That lighter weight makes it less of a burden to swing. So keen to see how it goes on this nice looking Blackwood. So I'm trying to be a bit more responsible solo wood chopper, and picked up from my mate Farid at RooMark pair of chainmail, stainless steel chainmail socks and also some shin guards. So they fit really well. It's nicely made together. He gets these made up and brought in. You grab a pair from him out at Stanthorpe. Not that I'm intending to go chopping my leg or my toes, but you never know. So I kind of figure being a bit safe, better than sorry. I'll wear these underneath. It's not going to change how I chop. It just means that, hopefully won't have a really bad accident. I imagine, an axe is going to go through, particularly a sharp felling axe is going to go through any boot. And, it's probably still going to break bone or whatever, but this chainmail, which is a requirement for all competitive wood chopping now, is at least going to prevent bad cuts. So I'll give it a go. Hide it under there, no one will ever know except me, but it'll make me feel a lot safer out here in the bush on my own. So I've actually been out of chopping action for a little while because I slipped bushwalking on a wet log and badly dislocated my finger on my right hand, which has been a bit of a pain. It's kind of getting better, but it's very muddy up here still. It's been raining all week. I kind of don't really want to be standing on a log and slip and dislocate another finger or something. So I'm just going to do a standing buck with this one. If it gets down on the ground, it might make it a bit easier. So it's going pretty good. This Blackwood's pretty dense, hard timber. Still a bit green, which is good. Hasn't fully dried out at all. Little Thor is handling it very well. Handle feels good. Hangs solid. It's cutting in. I mean, there's a few times it's bouncing a bit because I'm coming into a knot. But overall feels nice. Doing well. A bit bigger than I was anticipating for a test with a 3.5 pounder, but no, it's good. It's interesting to see this tree. It's grown. The growth rings are quite well spaced, you know, because of the high nutrient levels in the basaltic soils up here, the hobbly basalt. Retain a lot of water, high in iron and aluminium and calcium, so great for trees. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it looks like it's about 25 years old or so, which checks out given the age of the hillside. So like, I mean, back in the 70s, like I said, there was nothing here, just a hillside with cows and grass. So a lot of these trees probably started out around that time. So this one's probably picked up, you know, in the 90s or so, based on the age. Good old tree. Pretty lucky to be able to chop Blackwood. Should be good. Not sure what's going to happen here. I realise this is not the preferred way to bark. You do it from both sides, but with this terrain being so slippery and stuff, I just wanted to do it from one side. And as long as I get lots of chopping in, I'm happy. It was a bit uneventful. So a little 3.5 pound Thor Arvika has done the job. Cut through the Blackwood. It's harder than I thought it was going to be. Although, given it's an Acacia, probably shouldn't be surprised. pretty good. I had a few wayward blows a couple of times, but generally pretty straight. No little marks. The edge is great. I think it did really well. The steel has held up really well on such a tough timber. Not a single blemish. Still razor sharp. Pretty cool for an axe that's probably 100 years old. Alright, so just by way of comparison, I'm going to knock the second half of this off, or at least try to, using my 5-pound Hytest Forged Tools round pole. Love this axe. It's probably my favourite big axe I got. It's probably like early 50s, late 40s, early 50s round pole. Well, it's still on its original spotted gum handle as best I can tell. Now I'll give this a go on that bit. Oops. Still tough. on. Whew. All right, that was probably a bigger job than I thought it was going to be. This Blackwood, it's hard wood, it's hard timber. It's quite a few knots and sort of swirls and stuff in it that yeah, can be challenging. All right, got through with both axes, both held up well. Felt nice. Loved the little 3.5 pound. At the end of the day, I probably, it was as much effort with both, but I think I was going through a thicker bit of the trunk with the green axe, with the Hytest green axe. But the Thor Arvika is really good. Cuts well, and it's good size. Didn't get too puffed with that one. Got to say though, I really love the thud and the power you get with a 5 pound axe, and that old Hytest Forged Tools green axe, 5 pound round pole. It's the business, and it's got the best handle on it. I mean, not as pretty as the Thor, which I spent ages getting the palm swell on, but this one, it's the business. It's thinned out up the top here, where you're always reaching up the neck, and then it thickens down into the palm swell. The palm swell's really comfy, and it's a asymmetrical palm swell. Doesn't look that good, but man, it feels nice. I don't get not as prone to blisters and things with this one as I was with the Thor. That one, it's nice, but I think if I had to choose, I'd go with this old handle. And I think, axes like this that were probably used a lot by, I suspect, professional timber getters. I mean, they chopped a lot. So, you got to respect the wisdom that comes with that when it comes to tweaks to handles and sizes of axe heads and stuff. They knew what they were doing. We got plenty to learn. Us weekend warriors, having a bit of chop when we can. Anyway, that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed getting into this. I think I measured the diameter. It's about 45 centimeters through the thickest bit there, a bit less up this end. Blackwood. Good stuff. Anyway, better pack up.